What does a typical day look like for you as a forensic psychologist?
I have clinic days and report writing days. During the clinic days, I would do a clinical interview and ask about what might have happened to the person involved in the forensic issue. I might give them some tests that might be just questionnaire based tests, and it can also include what we call cognitive tests, which look at things like memory, attention, and what we call executive functions. And then after that, I'll review things like perhaps their medical records or their forensic records. That might be their criminal history, or it might just be the facts involved with their offence that has been committed. And then if they've got some test data, I'll score their test data, which might be the questionnaires or the cognitive testing. And then I'll integrate the information and write a report covering the details of the case, as well as any factors that may have contributed to the forensic issue, which is usually some sort of offence.
What type of clients do you usually work with?
So the clients that I see are normally or have been involved in some sort of forensic issue, such as committing an offence where they've been charged with that offence, and they have to appear in either the local court, or if it's a more serious offence, they have to appear in the district court. Usually these clients have some sort of history, relevant history to how the offence occurred, or they may have some sort of mental illness at the time. And the other sorts of clients I see, which is not necessarily forensic, but they have been injured in, for example, a motor vehicle accident or through some sort of medical negligence. And then, I'll do a similar sort of assessment, although it's a bit more detailed.
In what setting do you most often work?
So usually it's in a sort of office space where I conduct the clinical interviews. So the person with the forensic issue will make an appointment and come and see me where I'll do the assessment. Sometimes they are what we call incarcerated. So I'll need to either visit them in the jail, or we can do the assessment over audio-visual link. And that's pretty much the main two areas. Occasionally I might see an inmate in, for example, the prison hospital, where they can't go anywhere, but they are either mentally or physically unwell, and that's why they're in the prison hospital.
How do you contribute to legal cases or investigations?
Well, the main way I contribute is to do the assessment and the report, which involves taking of the client's history, any relevant history to what has happened with respect to the forensic issue, any mental health issues, physical issues, cognitive issues, psychiatric issues, and I'll work out how those factors, including, for example, their childhood and their environment, and how those factors combine together to contribute to the offence. And I'll explain that to the judge in the district court or the magistrate in the local court, so that they can be better informed with respect to the sentencing of that person. And sometimes I'll also go to court and explain things to the judge or magistrate, given they ask relevant questions. And that can be helpful in making their decision in terms of the sentencing.
What subjects in school or university helped you the most in preparing for the career?
Well, at school, I would say things like the science type subjects, like human biology, the humanities subjects, cultural subjects can be very relevant because different cultures um, can have different reasons for behaving in certain ways. Similar things at the university. Um, I guess I did a lot of subjects that looked at how brain functions and how brain function affects behavior. So I would say more the advanced subjects like neurophysiology. There are specific forensic psychology subjects, but it's more, I guess, how you learn to apply the knowledge that you've obtained from university that's important. And you can really only do that through practical experience and working on the job and understanding how to analyze data and use theories that you learnt at university, in theories in terms of behavior and how the brain functions, to help you to interpret why somebody did what they did.
How long did it take for you to become fully registered and start practicing?
Well, I did a 4 year degree in psychology with honours, and then I did a master's of psychology. And you can either do, there is actually a master's of forensic psychology, but I did masters of clinical psychology. And then for postgrad, I did a PhD in neurophysiology, which also included neuropsychology. And that took another 3 years. So that's a 4 year degree plus 2 year master's plus 3 year postgraduate degree. And by that time, I had been working, and I would say I became fully qualified.
What is it like to give expert testimony in court?
Well, it can be a lot of pressure, but you need to have confidence in yourself that you know your area of expertise. And on the flip side, it can be quite rewarding because you can help the court or the magistrate or the judge with your expertise by communicating additional information as well as clarifying any information that they may ask about. But the prosecutor's job is essentially to try to discount what the expert is saying, given the expert has been assessing the person being convicted. So that can be quite tricky to address the prosecutor's questions, and that can create a bit of pressure because they do try and trick you in a sense, because that's their job to prosecute.
What are some of the most challenging aspects of your job and how do you cope with them?
I guess one of the most challenging aspects is that the people I see are often damaged people, or they're injured or they're unwell. So that can be quite a sad thing to see, or to review what has happened to them. And a lot of these people have had difficult lives, and that's affected their future. So that can be quite a challenge to take that on board. And how do you cope with that? Well, you need to be objective, and you need to not be judgmental, and you need to believe that everyone has a right to have their story heard. And as a person working in that industry, you need to have a balance in life, and that's how that can help you cope better.
What's your work-life balance like?
Well, it's about having your work as a separate aspect of your life, not taking your work home with you, and being able to separate your life outside of work, and as well as having something to concentrate on and enjoy that's different from work, as a sort of way of recovering. Or
And the last question, what advice would you give to a student interested in forensic psychology?
well, I would recommend just doing general 3-year psychology degree initially, obviously focusing on some forensic subjects if they should be offered, at least by the 3rd year. And in the 4th year, if you go on to do 4th year, you could do a research project in forensic psychology and look for a supervisor that that works in a forensic area that you're interested in. And then the pathway would be to do the Masters of Forensic Psychology. An alternate pathway would be to enter the medical stream and become a psychiatrist, or a medical doctor, then a psychiatrist who specializes in forensic psychiatry. So that would be a very good option as well.